Hey, this is Tyler. This video might turn out terribly because I'm going to be moving around a lot and seeing if this works. Because right now I want to talk about how to make fighters and martial characters more interesting, particularly in your low fantasy or just not fantasy, medieval historical settings. I mentioned there should always be some flavor behind your crunch. The first thing off the top of my head that I thought of was power attacking in 3.5 Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder. And it's kind of like, well, power attack gets kind of boring if, your power attack every single time is, here's my regular attack, here's my power attack, ugh. And if you don't have that sort of basis of knowing how sword fighting works, or how fighting in general works, and you just think, one's a hard hit, one's a slightly harder hit but less accurate. Especially if you're role-playing a very technical fighter, a character where it's like, what's their whole class? They're good at fighting. Here's some ways that maybe help you visualize, if not describe, your character a little better. And as an aside, I guess a few historical European martial arts techniques that you might not know about. So, yeah, this might be my normal attack. It's very quick and not very telegraphed at all. But I'm not going to do as much damage. I don't get as much damage, but I may be more likely to hit my opponent. Whereas a power attack, I might start here. I might start in a closer, tighter guard where I wind my whole body into the strike. So this is still a very technical movement, right? It's not me just doing the same thing, but less, more recklessly. It could be that, but it doesn't have to be that. It could also be that I'm twisting my body into it and delivering a much more powerful strike that way. It could also be, maybe my power attack is I'm winding something up to deliver something at a really steep angle that, you can't even see it. It's off the camera. That's how steep it is. That, might not hit because of how steep the angle is. But if it does hit, well, boom, I've taken his head off. And again, I'm twisting my whole body into that strike rather than just, Maybe that's without the power attack. I'm just not taking myself offline, not doing any of that, just powering it with my hands. Whereas there, I'm powering it with my whole body. I'm twisting and contorting such that I can get much stronger attacks. But my opponent very well might see me do this to load that up and make that strike easier to block. Yeah, that's pretty much the long and short of it. You can think of a lot of different ways to make your strikes more powerful than just you're using more strength. And I see a lot of GMs that don't have any martial arts experience. They kind of fail to explain that. And this is particularly an issue mainly because most of the martial arts movies that involve swords have terrible swords martial arts. What do? You're my enemy. We're fighting here. And I go, and maybe if our blades cross, I go, and we sit there for years. Maybe my power attack is, and I immediately am just delivering a follow-up, right? You're only getting one attack every 6 seconds. Let's try that. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi. Yeah, no, you're doing a lot more in those 6 seconds. You're setting up thrusts, maybe winding. Maybe our opponent misses our AC, and we've wound that strike offline and come in very quickly for a thrust. And that's our turn. That's what happens over the course of 6 seconds. Maybe we're not really delivering any strikes, and we're just sort of trying to feel, is our opponent really stiff? If I make blade contact, does he just stay there? If I make blade contact, does he drop and get out of the way? So there's all of this stuff that's happening in the 6 seconds of a round of a D20 system like 3.5 or Pathfinder that you have to be thinking of to be immersed in it. Otherwise, you're looking at like a 4X game like Civilization, and you've sent your warrior unit to and then they stand there for 5 more minutes while the other guy's doing something. Thinking of while you're on your opponent's turn, yeah, you're not landing these strikes, but you are winding, you're getting into position, you're twisting your body to set up that next strike, etc., things like that. Hopefully that is somewhat helpful to you to be thinking about these things in your head. There's lots of great HEMA channels out there, but I don't think many of them talk about this sort of direct translation from real sword fighting to what it is we're imagining in these simulationist systems. And I think in these sort of crunchier, more simulationist systems, you should know a little bit about real sword fighting. I want to make this short just in case this turned out completely terrible. So yeah, let me know if you want more videos like this.